You've seen the movie, right? That mosquito trapped in amber, the scientist pulling out its last meal, and then boom, a living, breathing dinosaur. I mean, it's such a powerful idea, it feels like it just has to be possible. But today, we're going to dig into why the dream of cloning a T-Rex is almost certainly going to stay a dream.
So let's just get right to it. Could we actually do it? It's one of those questions that just won't go away, thanks to decades of blockbuster movies and, let's face it, our total fascination with these amazing creatures. But to get to the real answer, we've got to push past the Hollywood magic and look at the actual nitty-gritty science.
And this is really the heart of the matter. See, the reason we can't clone dinosaurs has nothing to do with our technology. It's not because our gene sequencing machines aren't good enough or our computers aren't fast enough or something like that. The real roadblock, it's a chemistry problem.
Okay, so this is where we kind of need to shift how we think about DNA. We tend to picture it as this perfect digital code, a timeless blueprint just waiting for us to read it. But in the real world, it's a physical thing. It's a chemical polymer, a very, very long and delicate molecule held together by chemical bonds that are, well, super unstable once they're outside of a living cell.
The second an animal dies, this invisible clock starts ticking. And man, does it tick fast. All those little cellular repair kits that are constantly fixing our DNA while we're alive, they just stop. Immediately, the cell's own enzymes start attacking it, water and oxygen rush in, and decomposition kicks off. There's no waiting around, no grace period. The decay starts instantly.
And here's the thing. This breakdown isn't just some random chaos. Nope, it follows predictable physical laws. You can almost think of it like a universal speed limit for how long a complex molecule like DNA can hold itself together. There's a ticking clock baked right into its chemical structure.
And that ticking clock? It actually has a name. Just like a radioactive element that decays over time, DNA has a half-life. And figuring this out was a huge breakthrough for understanding the real limits of what's possible.
And that number is 521 years. So what does that even mean? It means that even if you had the perfect conditions, we're talking freezing cold, zero bacteria, no oxygen, every 521 years, half of the chemical bonds holding that DNA together, poof, they're gone. Broken.
And this is where you really see the brutal, unforgiving math of it all. After 521 years, half the info is gone. After a little over 1,000 years, 75% is gone. Scientists have calculated that after about 7 million years, the DNA strands are so shredded that there's absolutely no meaningful genetic information left. And remember, the last dinosaurs died 66 million years ago. The gap? It's not just big, it's astronomical.
I really want to drive this point home. No future tech, I don't care how advanced it is, can fix this. You just can't get back information that has been physically destroyed. It's like trying to unscramble an egg. It's just not going to happen.
Okay, I know what you're thinking. But what about, right? What if it was frozen perfectly, or buried somewhere with no oxygen? Or what about being trapped in amber? It's time to dive in and bust some of these famous myths.
All right, but here's the real kicker. DNA doesn't even need an outside force to break it down. It basically self-destructs. Water molecules already inside the tissue, a little background radiation, it just falls apart from the inside out. There's literally no place on Earth that can stop this process over millions and millions of years.
And that brings us to the big one, the one everyone asks about, amber. The whole idea behind Jurassic Park, right? Well, the myth is that amber is this perfect little time capsule. The reality? It's kind of the opposite. Turns out, the tree resin actually has chemical reactions with the DNA that speed up its decay, not preserve it.
This chart really just says it all, doesn't it? The oldest DNA we've ever been able to find comes from some sediment in Greenland, and it's about 2 million years old. Now, finding DNA that old is an absolutely incredible scientific achievement. Seriously, it's amazing. But look at that gap. We're talking 2 million versus 66 million. It's not even in the same ballpark.
So if there's no DNA, does that mean a fossil is basically just a cool-looking rock? No way. This is where the real story, the one that's happening right now, gets super interesting. Let's talk about the incredible clues that do manage to survive.
What scientists can find is still mind-blowing. They can find things like tiny fragments of proteins, like collagen, which is a lot tougher than DNA. They can find these ghostly outlines of blood vessels or the faint shapes of bone cells. These are real biological clues, just not the whole instruction manual.
So you might be wondering, okay, why not just use those proteins? Well, think of it like this. Finding a protein is like finding one really cool, detailed piece of a million-piece puzzle. It tells you something amazing for sure, but it's not the picture on the box lid.
To build the whole thing, you need the complete instructions, and that's the DNA.
And honestly, this leads us to a story that I think is way more impressive than cloning ever could be. It's the story of how scientists are figuring out how to rebuild these ancient worlds without the original blueprint.
I mean, what modern paleontologists do is the ultimate detective work. They use biomechanics to figure out how these giants moved. They use comparative anatomy, looking at living relatives like birds, to understand how they evolved. They can even look at microscopic structures that used to hold pigment and make some really solid, educated guesses about what color they might have been. How cool is that?
So, at the end of the day, the verdict is pretty clear. Over 66 million years, the delicate, complex world of biology just gives way to the slow, immense power of geology. The genetic information is just gone, erased by time. What's left behind is stone.
And I absolutely love this quote because it perfectly captures the whole beautiful paradox of it. Paleontologists bring these animals back to life for us in our minds and in museums, and they manage to reconstruct these entire ancient worlds without the one thing we always associate with life, the DNA itself.
And you know what? That's not a failure. It's not a limitation of science at all. The fact that we can piece together what a triceratops was like, how it lived, just from stone and logic and clever comparisons, that is one of the most incredible achievements of science.
So that kind of leaves us with one last thing to think about. The Jurassic Park idea was this huge, powerful myth that a lot of us just accepted. It makes you wonder, right? What other big scientific facts from movies and TV shows are out there that we just take for granted?